We are streaming and we are recording. Uploading 2.6 million bits per second to the interwebs, which is a series of tubes which carries my voice and my screen and my face's image to you. Alright, I think the stream is up and running so I can pause my own preview thing. So last stream I cleaned up the code that I have set up in order to scaffold out this image viewer I'm working on. Hey there, Nightshade dude. And today I'd like to try to improve the method by which I'm showing this image and then start to add some new features to it. So number one on the list is to get rid of the way we're drawing pixel. That is right here. Drawing it with filled rectangles, which, I mean, it works, but it's like ridiculously expensive. Doing lots of extra work that we didn't need to do, and there are better classes in the framework that we could use instead. So yeah, let's work on that. I need to have this set up. I forgot to set it up before the stream. What do we have here? Oh yeah, here we go. I think even though it's sort of scary, says this is for advanced users, I think this is exactly what I want, because I was looking at this after the stream yesterday at this image data, color image, and I think what drove me away initially was I saw this from RGBA unmultiplied, and I'm like, oh, it has to be an array of bytes, and ugh. But I didn't see that there's also a new function which just takes the pixels in the format which we already have things in. I think we're very close to it. I think this color 32, I do have to convert my U32s into this, and I'm actually already doing that here. So if I pre-processed on input all of the pixels to get it into this color 32 type, and we had it in a vector, then we could easily make a color image out of it. Color image can be made into an image data. I think it's automatic because from color image for image data is just implemented by the framework. Then we should be able to call load image, pass it in here. They even have an example of how to do that. We just use the default options, name it something. We get it back a texture handle, and then I think the way it works, once you have a texture handle, is we can then give it to an image class or an image widget. I spell it correctly. Yeah, if we just say from a texture, okay, there's a little bit of mismatch here because this one has a texture ID, and the other type was what? I think I lost lost the context. It was a color image, right? Color image had the no, it was image data. Image data. Right here. Image data has I'm not seeing it now. I think I'm going down the wrong path again. Is it from texture? Or to texture? No, to get it into it was like create texture, right? Something texture. I'm so lost. Load texture. That's what it was. Right, so I need to figure out how to go from a texture handle to a texture ID. Ah, there's an ID. Perfect. So this example will be really useful. So let's see if I can do that. That means the pixels here, I'd rather it, instead of U32, I'd rather it be a color 32, because then it's a lot easier to import. Actually, even better than this, I should just demand that the whole thing be the image, and that the image be the exact class I want here, which was, it's just a texture, right? Texture handle. Right, and then let me track the color hierarchy of new for that. Okay, so right, it comes in from the Lua script here, where I've extracted out and put it into a U32. But maybe what I want to do is actually keep them as bytes. Let me think about this, because we end up wanting, we're gonna want to call this, and that takes 4 bytes, the red, green, blue, and alpha bytes, right? Unless there's another method here that works better. I'm not seeing one. So yeah, maybe the most efficient way would just be to keep it as bytes and pull them in as bytes. Take that back. As bytes, I'll have to have 3 of them per pixel. Whereas if I've shifted it around, I've already packaged it. Well, okay, it's either handle the Decipher colors here or handle them somewhere else. I think because they're separate to begin with, I should pay the cost of putting them together. Yeah, okay. And then yeah, it makes sense to me. Then they'll come in together as the U32. And so this doesn't change. This doesn't change either, but here's the code where we're going to want to turn it into a texture handle. Problem is that this doesn't get access to eGUI. So I might need to delay. I need to delay this. Yeah, this only has the opportunity to work with eGUI in draw, and by then it's too late, because I remember reading this call is not immediate safe. I actually looked that up after the stream yesterday, and in ChatGPT to try to interpret this, help me interpret this, and in my AI overlord's opinion, what this means is that you shouldn't be calling load texture inside your draw function when you're doing immediate mode drawing. You should do it one time whenever like the image is first changed or set, and then you reuse the texture inside the immediate mode drawing. So immediate safe means don't do it while you're drawing. Our image viewer implements a widget trait. Right now it has draw. Maybe what we need to do is add a like init. That's what I'm thinking. Actually, I need to actually go to the trait and do it there. And this uses the eGUI context. Now you can get the text context from the UI, so maybe we continue to use the UI. Does it need to be mutable? I don't think so. So it can be immutable, right? I think that works because this context uses interior immutability. So like everything here is just taking a immutable context. Same thing with the UI, right? Everything in UI is I have this bad habit of speaking before I have a complete sentence formed. It's not true. So some of them have mutable access. Okay, so I think I do want to give widgets the opportunity to mutate the UI. And I suppose what we could do is we can just have a default implementation that does nothing. I'm surprised that it complains here. Oh, actually, that is exactly true. It does have to be self. It was, okay, but yeah, this complaint here that it's unused. Sure, it's unused in the default implementation. If I name it that though, and then I go here over here and overwrite it, it like gave a really funky name there. I don't like that. Oh, because that was my fault. Don't mind me. I'm just making mistakes. You see, it put the underscore in front. You know what? I can just delete it. No big deal. Okay, so what that tells me is, yeah, I do actually want to hold on to the pixels because we can't turn it into a texture until later. I just thought of another way I could do this. I could, in new, pass in the eGUI UI, but actually I don't think that ends up being true because I wanted to host it separately from the window, so we can be able to make the image viewer first and then make the window, and that's the point where we're creating the eGUI context in the first place, right? So then I think it does need to be a two-stage thing, meaning like we have to start off with these here, and we'll end up with a texture handle later. So at the beginning, it's going to have to be, why did I do that? Oh, because they're ordered that way there. Okay, never mind. I can start off the image as none. Okay, and then we'll have the init be the one that uses the UI context. So it'll be UI.context.load texture. Should I name the image? Does the name matter? A given name can be useful later for debugging and will be visible if you call self-texture UI. I don't think I care. I'm just going to give it into string. We'll just make it empty. Okay, the image. Here's where we have to construct an image data from a color image, which we can create from our color 32. So I think we'll just convert it to color 32, and then to a color image, then to a image data, and then finally to this texture as the last step. So self.image equals sum that. Okay, so first thing I got to do process those pixels, right? So let pixels equals self pixels iter map pixel. And I'm going to copy the exact thing I was doing up here when I drew it. And then I got to do a collect. Actually, if I do that, this expects a vector. Oh, well, a couple steps later, it will expect a vector. I shouldn't have to say a type here, right? So right now it's going to say it doesn't know what that type is, and that's fine. Let image equal color image new. Size has to be an array with the width and height. Did I read that right? That's different from that. Oh, wait a second. That takes pixels. This takes color. Am I looking at the wrong version of eGUI docs? I think I might be one version old. Yeah, I am. So I really should be looking at the same version. So the method I want doesn't exist yet? That's kind of funny. Well, okay. Yeah, that's really funny. The method I was going to call doesn't exist in version 0.31, but it is in the current version. So from RGB on multiply, that's what I'm doing per pixel, right? That's from sRGBA. Source. It's actually not doing exactly what I want, is it? That's without. That's what does say from sRGBA? I'm really confused. I'm calling from sRGBA unmultiplied. How's that different from RGBA unmultiplied? I see that there's an adjustment. Dang it. Then I'm kind of missing the I'm missing the version of this that I want, aren't I? So I might have to like I might have to go this way, but I need to get it from. I have to do the color space conversion myself, maybe. Okay, so I think yeah. What I'll do is I'll just get it into array of bytes instead of doing this right here. I just end up doing this, right? I'll be fixing the color space in a bit, but for now, it's that, right? RGBA, and I need to like flatten and collect. U8. iter. Into iter. How do I turn that into an iter? Make it an array? Okay. And this, no semicolon. Okay. So yeah, instead of new, what am I using now? I'm doing from RGB and multiplied. Okay. Slice of type cannot be built since we stored the elements somewhere. Oh, borrow. Okay, it's not going to know the type then. So I do have to say it's a vector of some things. Okay, so we got a color image, and then I need to like turn it into something, right? So that would be into the correct type. Trivial. Oh, wait. I thought the color image can go into an image data, so why can't I do that? Oh. Yeah, I think we do need mutable access, right? Oh, but we don't have mutable access. Okay, yeah. I've decided this yesterday that we don't get mutable access to the image viewer because it's shared. We have to use interior mutability. So this needs to be, I guess that means I can make it if texture handle is defaultable, we can just make this a cell. I don't think it's defaultable though. Okay, well then it's gonna be well, ref cell will be nicer, right? So ref cell new none. And then here we would have to say dot replace. Hey there, I don't know how to say your name. YEUX Verts24. What is a data parser? So it's a programmable data analysis tool. It has its own language. So for example, this is where I'm pulling in a GIF file, which is this pog slide one. These are the raw bytes of that pog slide animation. And because I've configured the tool with a format script that tells it how to parse, it's able to turn those bytes into the actual to interpret the bytes to like what the pieces are. So like that's the header, that's the screen. There's a screen descriptor. There's the width and height, and like here's this happens to be one of the images. There's the indices into the color table, and etc. If I click on any byte, it tells me what that byte is interpreted to be. Like there, we're looking at block 32, or the last block of the sub blocks of the image data for the image in the fourth or the fifth data block, right? So the parsing language looks like this. So it's kind of like C, only instead of these being functions, they're giving like recipes on how to parse elements, and they build on each other like building blocks. So a GIF starts with a header, and the header has a signature and a version, and there's a little check to make sure that the signature is GIF. So running that again, you can see here's the header, here's the signature, right? And following, yeah, there's a version, I mentioned that, right? There's the version number right right there. And I could describe the whole format, but I think you get the idea. So I last week made an alternative format description for JSON. So a JSON document is a value, and a value is either an object, string, list, number, etc., right? And then an object starts with an open brace and has a closed brace at the end, and in the middle it has name values. And a name value is just a name, a colon, and then a value. There's all the other punctuation going on here, but that's too much detail maybe to go into. But hopefully you get the idea that you kind of describe how to parse something like a set of functions that build on each other like in a sort of hierarchy, and then when the parser runs, it's following that recipe to byte for byte, generating this big data structure. It's like a big tree that it ends up with, which is the composition of the entire file, kind of laid out in all of its pieces. So hopefully that makes sense. And today I'm working on making an image viewer, because I got it to the point where sure we can pull out individual frames of the animation, but they just look like a huge array of numbers, right? So these numbers are indices into a palette, and that palette says like what the what colors. So here's the global color table, and we can look at, well, if it's index 0, the red element's 84, and then green is 120, and blue is 60, right? So I wanted to have something that takes that color table and those indices that make the image and put them together and actually show it on screen. And I want to kind of fit it into this GUI somewhere, but I haven't decided where yet. So in the meantime, I'm like, let's work on the image viewer separate, and then I'll integrate it later. So the image viewer is based off of the eGUI library. That's what I'm using for user interfaces here. It's a GUI, immediate mode GUI library for Rust, right? And the meat of it here is that when we're asked to draw, that we go through all the pixels and we compute where on the screen to draw it. And right now I'm just drawing each pixel as a filled rectangle. So if I just run this now, here's what we get. So the size of each rectangle depends on how much space we have. So if I take it and make it bigger, it'll pop up to be bigger. It totally ignores the aspect ratio right now, so I have to fix that at some point. But it's drawing each pixel as a filled rectangle, picking the color out of the palette that we gave it, and looks good, right? So I'm working on replacing the filled rectangle nonsense here with actually making a real texture that we can give to the GPU so that it draws it much more efficiently. And then I'm gonna like add some more bells and whistles to that image viewer class, because right now all it does is it draws the pixels, right? I'd also like it to do things like where if I'm putting the mouse over the image, it would be nice if it showed me what row and column I'm on. And it would be really cool if maybe there would be a magnifying glass that follows the cursor, if I hold down Shift or something like that. And where you can like kind of zoom in on an area and see the individual pixels kind of magnified. Also, I'd like to be able to zoom in on the image without making the window itself bigger like that. If I could just keep the window small, because this is probably, I'll have a window probably about this big that's going to fit into the main UI somewhere. And like if I wanted to focus in on the eyeball, I kind of want to like mouse wheel up or something and have it zoom in on that and make that take all the screen, and maybe add some scroll bars. So kind of what I'm working on right now. So hopefully I described what my data parser is and what I'm doing today sufficiently. If you have any more questions, let me know. So the idea was to take the pixels, to get them into the right format, which right now is to make this is an array of bytes, or array of 4 bytes, and then flatten that and put into a big vector, because this from RGBA unmultiplied once, just a flattened byte array. So I think I have that, and now I need to store it back into the image viewer. The image viewer is going to use interior mutability. so that when it's implementing this widget trait, we don't need to have a mutable reference to the widget. We can have a shared reference, and that's important because in the way I'm prototyping this widget now is I'm using a Lua script where we create one of these image viewers and we hold on to it with a variable in Lua, but then I need to pass another reference to the window to draw it. So it's inherently shared, and shared references in Rust require you to either have it be immutable, so frozen, we can't change it, or if you do need to change it, you use interior mutability. And what that basically says is that although we don't have a mutable reference, we can't directly modify the contents of any of these fields. We can use an escape hatch built into this type called refcell, where you can ask at runtime to check, is anyone else currently reading or writing this image viewer instance? If not, then we temporarily get mutable access to just what's inside the refcell. And then when we're done, we relinquish that reference, and then somewhere else in the program we could then get access to the internals again. We're sort of kind of bending the rules of that you're not allowed to mutate something if you only have immutable reference to it. But it's one of the many escape hatches in Rust to do that. So I think the way I want to do this is I do replaces the wrap value with new and returning the old one without deinitializing either one. This is what I want to do, right? I just want to replace it with that. Okay, it's telling me what? Calling texture options default is more clear. So texture options it is. And this it doesn't like because I could use try from. No, that's not the problem it has. That's one problem, right? It doesn't like that I'm using a math operation that could truncate the value. So we know it won't actually truncate, so I can just kind of silence the linter by saying we allow possible truncation, right? Now we're down to that it's suggesting that I replace map with flat mapped and remove the flatten. And it actually has a quick fix that does it for me. Cool. Okay, so now that we're down to no errors and only one warning, let's check the warning. The warning is it's never used. So yeah, I think we're fine just removing the default because the default's never used. And what's this warning? Oh, well, we will be using it shortly. It's correct in that we're not yet using it, but we will be using it. But before that, assuming that it does get called, we moved our image into a texture. The whole idea of which was, instead of doing this huge loop, we just draw the texture. Hey there, A squared, how are you doing? I think all I really need to do here then is just say UI.image, and then rather than figuring out what it is, I think there was like something here that kind of gave an example of it, right? One of these. Yeah, right here. UI image texture ID, and you just put it into a tuple, texture ID and size. So self.text, I put it into image, right? So since it's in a ref cell, I have to borrow it. And in order to call its ID field, right? Or borrow can fail, right? No, borrow can't fail. How come it doesn't know I can call ID? I don't know, we'll figure that out in a second. And then the other one is the size. Okay, why don't we just borrow the whole thing? See, let texture equals self image Oh, because it's an option. That's why it didn't give me the ID. We have to borrow it and say if let some texture, because we might not. If we forgot to call init, it won't have a texture, right? So if we have some texture, then we're gonna draw it, and then we can just say texture ID here, just like the example here showed. Texture size. Oh, I think I have a type problem. I'm gonna finish typing and then see what my type problem might be. So this is the old obsolete code we shouldn't need. What's my type problem? Oh, we have a ref instead of an option. So I think I'd have to do like borrow as ref. Yeah, there we go. Took apart a cheap little handheld game thing. It was surprisingly not a Nest clone, and seemingly had its own games. Interesting parts. Also had an AV port for outputting to a TV. That's the old analog audio video port, right? You don't use reserve for future use, which you don't know how you manage that. So they had a like forward-looking, like probably the chips they were using had this audio video interface, but they didn't have the software to use it yet. But they're like, hey, let's put it into the hardware so that maybe after a software update we can say, hey, we can connect this to a TV now. That's pretty cool. Okay, not using inner rect. I think I should be, right? Or maybe allocate size is not what we want because we actually want the image to be doing the allocation for me. So this might actually be obsolete code here. All right, so then the last thing I need to remember to do is we need to call init. So let's do that. I think that where we'll do that is in that window host on resume here. We're gonna well, wherever we get a UI, where do we get a UI? Do we get it in window new? No. Maybe we do it on the first window event, on the first time we draw, maybe. Ah, shoot. Where do we get a UI? An eGUI UI? Is it process? Aha. It's in the show. Okay. Completely wired up and reserved for future use. Yeah, it's waiting for software. Cannot receive. Yeah, but what they can do is once they have all of the machines set up to produce the hardware, then the software update is they give the factory the new image to burn into the flash so that at some point the units they're manufacturing now suddenly have this TV interface or something. Copy someone else's board? I mean, that's possible too. Hey, they might have just copied the board and they're like, it's got this extra port. What do we do with it? Hey, let's just mark it as like reserved for future use. I'm kind of wondering, how do I get this UI thing out of their example? Get or insert with. That's an interesting way of doing it. I guess that's what we'll do. That means I don't really need it in the init after all, right? Wouldn't we just put it into the draw? And we would just say, well, if we don't have a texture yet, we're going to construct it now. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. So so then I'm just gonna back out the change I made. Widget doesn't need an init. Hold on, I think I have to give Mrs. Ramu her phone because she left it downstairs, and now this is the second time it's ringing. So I'll be right back. All right, the phone has been delivered. Metro, how are you doing? It has been a bit, hasn't it? It's been like a year and a half. I don't need this in my trait. Mostly because this required that we have a UI, and we don't have a UI at the right time that I thought. So we're just going to do it on the first draw, which I think it's fine. Makes sense. So that means all we do here, I think I'm just going to do it the way that the example here does it. We just do get or insert with. So we'll just do it here. Yeah. So this line is going to be a little bit different. Let's just paste this right now. Yeah, wouldn't we do something like just like let texture equal self.image.borrow. It's a little bit different though because we might want to replace it, right? So let me do a borrow mute. Get or insert with. Exactly, right? And then that goes in here, and then we don't need this self-image replace. We just do that, right? Did I need like, oh, I needed an as ref. As mute. I might have to split that up because, oh, I don't need an as mute. Isn't that gonna exceed the lifetime of the borrow mute? I might have to borrow mute first, and then with the borrow mute do a get or insert with. We'll see. We'll see in a moment. So instead of doing the replace, I think it is just this much of it. And then it doesn't need to be mutable, but I do need to do this, right? Because yeah, why does it think it needs to be mutable? It's owned. We'll just get a insert with return. Oh, it just happens to return that. Okay. We don't need it to be mutable. We happen to have it. That's fine. Yeah. So then it's just draw the image, right? Okay. And here's the lifetime problem that I thought I would run into. Yeah, I've hit this too many times now that I kind of anticipate it. If we're reaching into a ref cell and then doing something with it, and then getting something and like getting any part of it back out, that's a problem because now this is going to outlive our reaching into the cell to get access to it, especially if it's a reference, right? So the trick is you have another one right before it to keep the borrow in scope. And you at least I do this. Maybe it's lazy. I don't know. You can replace it. Should be able to replace it. Cannot mutate immutable. Right. You should mark it mutable. You replace it with a transform. It doesn't cause the original one to go out of scope. So you're basically extending the lifetime of the borrow to cover as long as it needs to. As long as this is in scope, which I think it's either the end of the function or if it's smart enough, it would see that as soon as we're done with UI image, it could drop it. Doesn't matter to me. Got some more errors though, right? It's just we don't have the init anymore. Okay, ready to try it. Terminal cargo build. Yeah, if you're wondering what I'm doing, working on a project. Overall, the project is a programmable data parser with its own language for describing formats. Specifically, I'm parsing an image file, and what I want to do is, like, after we get the image file, the image parsed out of the image file, we actually want to show it on the screen, and I'm making like a visualization tool to do that. Hey, look, it worked. The only problem is it's not scaling with the window. So this is plotting or drawing basically the image we extracted. Here's the original animated GIF, and let me open another window. In another window, I'll do this one. This is what the original file looks like, and this is what my parser generates as output. And this image viewer is getting the data from the parser and like searching it and getting what it needs, and really briefly again going over that again. It has to locate the color palette, and it has to locate the image and its size, and then this image viewer is what I'm working on right now. We also have a window class that hosts it, so the fact that it's a window that I can drag around the screen, that's there's a lot of boilerplate that I've hidden away that I don't need to really go into, because today I'm focused on this image viewer. And this image viewer is getting its information, the colors and the pixels and the width, out of the parsed data structure, which is pretty much the same as here. So it's going to data to graphic control block, rendering block, so it's going to data. There's a number conversion because of an oddity where Lua counts from 1 and then everything else counts from 0. So data 2 here really is data 1 over here. So it's basically going to that, and it's going into the rendering block and going and getting this image data out. That huge array, right, is this image data. We're also going into the image descriptor, getting its width and the height. So that's in here. There's a width and the height right there, 112 by 112. So what I want to do next is I want to make the image scale to the available size. So we're going to do more than just tell it to make an image, right? We kind of need a way to tell it to scale up. I'm going to delete the old code that we don't need anymore. I'm going to leave this because eventually I want to be able to click on the image and have clicking mean something. Right now we're not. So I got to look up and see, how do we tell image how big to make it? All right. Okay, looks like we can just call methods on it to change like its size and stuff, right? Okay, so we can do max width, max height, max size, maintain aspect ratio, fit to original size, fit to exact size. Let's play around with this. We can fit to the exact size because we know what the size is. It is the UI available size, right? So image fit. Wait. Why can't I just call it here? Fit. Okay. And confused. Oh, we're not making a capital image. We're doing lowercase image. So, so we have to do it the other way, where we do UI add image new. Okay. UI dot add image new, and then the source, which is this tuple, and then I can do dot fit. No, inside the add. dot fit to exact size UI dot available size. There we go. So instead of just the shortcut of UI.image, now we have to make the image. And that allows us to decorate it with telling it how big to make it. And then once it's prepared, then we tell the UI to add it. So if I did that correctly, now it should scale up to fill the window, right? Not counting the frame boundary border we made for it. Oh, I think it crashed. But I have a bug sometimes. The last line of output is eaten. So let's do a out and then 2 redirect it to 1 and then look at the output file. Not that one. Out. And open, oh, because I'm in the wrong directory. Oh, because I am the wrong shell. That's the shell I wanted to be in. There we go. Okay, so should be scaling up and ignoring the aspect ratio. Actually, it's keeping the aspect ratio. It's actually doing exactly what I wanted it to do then. Except for maybe what we need to do when it has more space horizontally is we want to kind of center it. I think if I just tell it to center it, it should do that, right? And just do center. Or specify? Or maybe it's on the add. Or is it align? I can't remember. Align. Align, oh, this isn't the right thing. Okay, I give up. Let's see how to do it. I think it would be an add, right? Maybe a more advanced version of add. Add a location dependent on the current layout. Okay, that's what we want, right? How do I change the current layout without doing a UI with layout? Or maybe I just do a UI with layout. UI with layout. Centered and justified, I guess. Well, hey there, Mr. Sir. How are you today? I was in your channel, but I forget if I did any chat or if I was just a lurker today. Hey, whoa. I'm just trying to figure out how to lay out my little graphic here. I'll show you what it's doing right now. We're picking out one frame from PogSlide using my own image parser and decoder. It's programmable. Here's a description that my bot will give you. So it has its own language for describing how to parse things. GIF looks like this. I can show you here. This is what it looks like in raw bytes. So GIF files start off with GIF, and that's the signature in the header. And basically, if I describe like every single component of a GIF file, it will successfully turn all the bytes all the way down to the very last one, which is a trailer byte, into an output data structure. And from that, we can extract things like here's an image, and here's its description, and we can see its width and height. And if it had a local color table, we would get that too. But here's the image pixels. It's paletted image, so every pixel is a lookup into a color table, and we can know, well, the color table happens to be under logical screen, and here it is, the global color table. And here are the individual fields of the color table. So my parser is not just for GIF, it's fully programmable. You have to describe its format in a language I came up with. That means it has a built-in compiler for this language, and the language is kind of like programming language, only it's more like a recipe on how to turn input bytes into output data structures. And it's compositing. So you make small building blocks and you build them up. So like header is fully described here, and then it's used here. GIF or GIF, however you want to say it. Do you use regex at all? Yes, I do. I will show you where I use regex. So I didn't make the compiler from scratch. I use Logos and I use Lollerpop. The two most important parts of a compiler, if you're making your own language, are the tokenizer or the lexer. It turns each character here into well, it groups the characters into the tokens. So like loop is one token, and next is one token, and break is one token, right? So in the tokenizer or the lexer, I use a crate called Logos, and there you describe your how to tokenize, and one way to do that is to use regular expressions. So here's my regular expression for matching a string token. So you have to match a double quote at the beginning and a double quote at the end, right here. And in the middle, you can have 0 or more of characters that are not double quote, backslash, character turn, or new line, or it can be a literal backslash and then any one character. So that allows you to escape any of these other characters, right? See how that goes? If tokens are easy, you don't use a regular expression, you just have literals, right? Another place where you might use regular expressions are when you're matching, like here we go. This is an identifier, right? It's one alpha, like A through Z, followed by an alpha, 0 or more alphanumerics. And those are like sub patterns that I describe up here. So, right? Again, a very simple, but still a regular expression. You can see Logos being a Rust crate. It's basically giving me a bunch of macros that I can decorate my token type in order to tell it how to make these out of input characters. So it's pretty amazing. I don't have to know how it works. I just have to say, hey, parse it this way. Well, thank you, Mr. Sir, and thank you for lurking. And thank you for the raid, too. I appreciate it. If you're really into compiler stuff, the Lollerpop link is another interesting thing to follow, just to give you a little taste of that. So this is what my language looks like, right? So I would call this construct a format, and each of these is a statement. And like the 8 here or the 3b hex, those are expressions. Actually, this whole thing here, next equal 3b, is one expression. And then this is an if statement, and that's a reserved word, you know. So how we describe the syntax of that is in this grammar. So at the very top we have that overall we have formats, and those are chained together using this. You'll see this pattern in a lot of parser generators, where if you want to form a chain out of 0 or more identical things, you have a rule that matches. Well, if there's nothing, it's just an empty chain. And then you can take any chain, including the empty one, and then add a next one to it, where you take what you had before and you insert the new thing. And it'll match the rules one after another to form the chain. So like we'll start with nothing, and then we'll add GIF to it, and then we'll add header, etc. Right? And these rules are matched against the input token stream, and then as soon as it identifies a rule, it says, oh, that rule is matched, and then it'll emit the code that goes with that rule. So as we're going, we have to match an entire format before we can add it to the map. And a format is an identifier, so in this case it'd be like GIF, followed by maybe some arguments, a left brace, a whole bunch of statements, and then a right brace. And once we match the entire rule, we have a format, right? But until we've matched the whole rule, we'll be trying to match the parts of it. So like, you say, okay, the first thing this GIF is the name. And then it'll say, oh, we see L brace already. Well, op arguments has to be reduced through the empty rule. So I better have an empty rule for op arguments. Yeah, so I have an empty rule, right? If you don't have a parentheses, you have no arguments. If you had a parentheses, you'd have 0 or more arguments. And again, that has an empty rule. It has a single identifier to form the first argument, and then if you have something with a comma, and then that's how you chain it. So it's actually chained the other way from how formats is chained. And you can see it's kind of like a Rust-like syntax, especially in the when you match a rule, the code here really is Rust. The rest of it's Rust-like, and it's kind of similar to Bison, which is a really old parser generator written in C. And I'm sure there are other parser generators out there. It's basically describing the syntax of the language and how you would match the input tokens to different rules to form the overall compiled thing. And usually they call that like an abstract syntax tree. You can just think of it as like the in-memory version of this. It's a big data structure, kind of like a binary tree, or it's not binary, but it's like a data tree that you can traverse. So I could start at all the list of formats, and I could say, let me go into GIF, and then we get a bunch of statements, and then we can iterate through them, and then we get to loop. Loop has its own inner statements, etc. So there you go. I gave you the quick rundown, which I hardly ever do. I'm trying not to do it as much because I go off into the weeds, but since it got rated and there's a whole bunch of new people probably haven't seen this before, I figured kind of owe it to you guys to show you that. So yeah, I showed every aspect of this, right? So I can go back to doing the work unless there are other questions. Stuff is cool. You remember Mind Blown by Lex and Yak? Yep. So Yak is the older parser generator that came before the GNU Bison. So Bison and Yak are like pretty close. I never used Antly, but I think that does sound familiar. It's like another kind of parser generator, right? Or Antler. Yeah. All right. Anything else? I think that was it, right? So again, I have 2 programs. The first one is this overall GUI, and it can figure out that, hey, there's an image here, and I'm like, kind of want to see like an actual picture, because we know we're parsing Pog slide, and it looks like this. So I expect to like get it. There's 10 frames here that are animating in quick succession in a loop, right? So if you think of like freezing that for a moment, we kind of want to see that here instead of this massive set of numbers, right? So working towards that goal, I have a second program, which is basically a plugin to the Lua scripting language, where you can write a Lua script that runs this parsing internally and lets you extract anything out of this tree that you want and get a Lua reference into it. So that is what is going on in this script. So this is all set up to do the parsing. Here's the actual parsing is done right here, where we're saying use this format, or the parser of the format. This is the root element, and parse this input, which we got from this file, right? And then we can, the thing that we get out is a big compositional data structure that we can traverse with like looking up as if it was like a map, right? It's a map of maps. So we can descend into logical screen, the descriptor, all that stuff to get the global color table. This is the palette, right? And then again, we can go back up to GIF, and we can go to the data, we can go to the second element, and we can descend all the way, and we can grab the width and height, and then the actual pixels. And then the goal was to, I'm building up a GUI element called an image viewer. Yeah, this is embedding Lua in Rust. So I don't know if I have a command for it, but that's the command. What it would be mlua. I'll show you what mlua is in a sec. But this image viewer is based actually all of my GUIs are based off of eGUI. So it's immediate mode GUI library for Rust. Immediate is different from declarative. So rather than declaring the structure like you would in HTML, immediate mode is more like, hey, put a button there. Okay, now put a label there. Now make a frame. So you'll see what I mean in a sec. So building up like a widget for the user interface that's going to show the image, right? And then you can't just have a widget. You have to have a window to put the widget in. So I have another thing called like a window that's got all the boilerplate for making a window with w-init and eGUI and all that stuff. And I'm it's really gross. And I made it once and I shoved it off to the side because I really only care about the image viewer. And then when we tell the window to run its event loop, then it shows it on the screen and we see that. Yay. So mlua. It's actually a really cool way to connect Lua and Rust. So what you do is you make a new crate or library. Make sure you override the crate type to be cdylib, so you're making a dynamically linked library rather than an executable, right? It's a dynamically linked library as opposed to a Rust library. So it's meant to be linked and loaded dynamically from non-Rust programs. So it's compatible with like C and all that. And then you pull in mlua. And what's important is you include the module feature. You can also include this feature to pin down which version of Lua you want, so you don't have to like install it separately. It kind of comes with it, which is kind of convenient. And then in your main program, or we're making a Lua plugin, right? So it's something we're going to pull into a script. You mark with Lua module the function to call in order to build the plugin. So the plugin is going to be a table that is going to be represented in your Lua script with a name that you pulled into the script. And you're basically, you add to that table all the functions you want that plugin to have. So among them, you'll see the ones that I already had in my script, like image viewer and window and parser and ingest. They should all be here. So the ones I'm working on today are like making an image viewer, and I could show you window, but it's kind of gross. We'll just focus on image viewer, right? So create function works as long as you have a Rust function that takes a Lua interpreter and any kind of like thing that's compatible with what they call Lua multi-args. Long story short, this from Lua multi, there are a lot of implementations of it, but the most convenient ones are the tuples. So if you make args a tuple with any kind of types that themselves are convertible to Lua, then the mlua like does all of the type conversion for you. So it's really easy. You just say, I'm going to have 4 arguments. These are going to be the types. If they don't match, go ahead and throw a runtime error. But in the meantime, like, or not in the meantime, if it's not a runtime error, then we'll get our, in this case, it was our actual, the colors from the color table first. And then we'll get the actual pixels. I think I did this in the right order, right? Yeah, pixels by index. And that was this really long thing here. Those are the pixels by index, right? So each one's an index into the colors, the color table. And then the image width and height, right? So I do a little thing here where I combine the pixels with the color table. So we're going through all the pixels by index and we're mapping the index to looking it up in the color table, and we get the color back out. So the pixels become a vector of colors. And then we make a new image viewer, and then this into is the magic stuff that takes my Rust type and puts it back into Lua as a Lua value. And in order to do that, your type has to implement something like that's not the right class, is it? Image viewer, right? How did I do that? Impl image viewer. I thought I had to have a user data implementation of that. Oh, I think it's because I had a third type in there. I have this thing called widget host, which holds on to something that's complicated. I'll describe in a sec. But yeah, if you implement this user data, then you can hide any Rust type inside Lua as a user data. And then to get it back out from Lua, it's a little complicated because you're going to get some kind of Lua value, and you have to say, hey, is it a user data? If so, let me try to dynamically typecast it back to my own type. And if it works, then we're allowed to clone it to return it. Otherwise, we can say, hey, that's not a widget. It's supposed to be a widget. What are you giving me here, right? So the reason why I have this complicated wrapper for my widget is because of this clone. When I get the value back from Lua here, right? So I got a Rust object and I embedded it back into Lua as image viewer, right? When I pass it back into Rust, I need to get it back out of Lua, but I don't want a copy of my image viewer. I want a reference to the same thing. And when in Rust, whenever you think of reference to the same thing, it's either going to be an ampersand for a statically known a compile time reference, or you can use a dynamic reference, like what I don't know if it's called that by everybody, but that's what I've been calling it, mostly in my head. But that's this RC, and that's if it's single threaded, and if it's multi-threaded, you use ARC. RC stands for reference counted. ARC is atomically reference counted. RC, you use RC because it's cheaper and quicker if you know it's a single-threaded program. ARC is more expensive, and because it has to use atomic data types to make sure that it's synchronized with other threads. You did Lua embed extend C++ with Swig. I did that stuff too. I'm liking the Lua with Rust because it's the mLua crate that does this integration makes it a lot more slick, I think. So yeah, I'm using RC because I want a reference counted thing in order that I can have multiple references to the same thing without making a complete copy or clone of it. So I end up with Lua holds on to one reference to the image viewer, and then I'm giving my Rust code another reference. And I don't want it to be a complete copy because that image could be huge, right? We just want to share it. So a shared reference in C++, it would be like shared pointer, is done here in Rust with RC, single-threaded, or ARC, multi-threaded. Now what the heck is dyne widget here? Well, I wanted to do what they call erasing the type. I didn't want my window to care what the actual type of the thing is. I wanted it to work with any kind of widget. So you'll see that if I open up window host and it's new, it just takes a widget. It doesn't know it's an image viewer. It could be a button. It could be a frame. In this case, it's an image viewer, but it doesn't know and it doesn't care. So the actual type here at runtime is going to be image viewer, but we're hiding it. Or in other words, we're erasing the type from the type system and reducing it down to, like in C++, it would be a base type or an abstract type. In Rust, it's called a trait. So you define a trait. It's like an abstract class or base class, and you say what functions it has to have. And at runtime, these two things are going to be extra pointers in what's called a vtable or a virtual function table. So our image viewer will come with, in addition to where it is in memory, it'll also have a second pointer that points to where these functions are for image viewer, as opposed to where these same functions are for any other kind of widget. And let me not get lost here. I'm a little lost. No. It was a widget host, right? Yeah. So think of it as like in C++, it's like a pointer to a base class. And instead of using, well, it's actually kind of the same. At runtime, the pointer to base class is actually going to point to some derived class. In our case, it's image viewer. But it's handling through this base class pointer called widget. Or in Rust, it's a trait. So whenever you do that, use the dyne keywords, like dynamic. Think of dynamic type. It doesn't know the actual type, but it knows that it's some type that will implement the widget trait. So in image viewer, we need to have an implementation of widget for image viewer, and here are the actual bodies of those two trait methods from widget, right? Draw and preferred size. Well, here they are for image viewer, right? So back to widget host. The actual erasing, where does that actually happen? I think it's when you make the image viewer. when I have a separate thing called the host for the image viewer. Yeah. Yeah, that was the magic that I was talking about this into. See how we're like image viewer is an image viewer, the concrete derived type, but we're not returning an image viewer. We're returning widget host. We're saying it's something that holds on to reference counted some kind of widget. Forget the actual type. In other words, erase the type. This into is how it works. So I think I did that through that widget I have, or widget host. Yeah, I have this. So it's basically a blanket implementation for any type that implements widget, has a known size, and is not constrained in its lifetime. You can take that value, put it inside of a smart pointer, and then package it inside the widget host. So this is like a new type, or like a type that holds on to, it's a value that really is a wrapper for another value. So we're wrapping the reference counted image viewer inside of widget host, and we're allowed to erase the type because we're using a generic that if this value is image host, it's allowed to reduce its type to dyn widget when it does this. You can only do that with certain types, and there's certain rules about it, and I'm not the expert. What are we building? We're building a programmable parser. I'm not going to go over the whole intro again, because if I did, I'd just be in an infinite loop of describing what I'm doing. But at this very moment, I'm describing how I am turning this array into extracting this image out and showing it on the screen from a Lua script, no less. This is the main program I'm working on. It knows how to take any kind of input file and figure out what's in it through a program you give it, which is describing the format. So here's GIF again. Function. It looks like a function, but it's really the recipe on how to parse something. So here's how you parse GIF, and it's hierarchical. So like when you see header, it knows how to parse header because you describe how to parse header in the following lines, right? So we end up with this, and in addition to the main program, I have this Lua plugin, so I can script it with Lua. So right now I'm having the Lua script find this image here, find its size inside the image descriptor here, 112 by 112. Also extract out the global color table, mix the two, give it to an image viewer, plot it on the screen. Planning on giving it a bunch of parsers, asking it what type of image is. We could. So something similar to that is how you parse JSON, right? JSON document has a value in it. We don't know what kind of value. Is it an object? Is it a string? Is it a list? Here's how you would answer the question of asking what the type of something is in a parser. You cheat and you look ahead one character and you say, oh, is it a curly brace? Ah, it's an object. Oh, it's not? Is it a double quote? Oh, it's a string. Is it a number between 0 and 9? It's a number, right? If it's T, it's got to be true. F, it's got to be false. So conceptually think of, we could have like image file here, and we would maybe scan ahead 3 characters, and we say, oh, does it start with GIF right here? Well, then parse it as a GIF. Does it start with, I forget there's usually files, like image files, have the first 16 characters. Within the first 16 characters, there's some kind of unique ID that is like a hint of what the kind of file it is. Sometimes it's called like a magic number or magic marker. But yeah, we basically look ahead then up to 16 bytes, and we would see, is there something in there we recognize that tells us what the image type is? And then when we match it, then in my parsing language, the rules inside the match would give it like what hierarchy to descend into to parse everything in there. So right now I just have GIF and I have JPEG, and my plan was overall at some point to add other formats. So like I had in here MVE, which is I started working on that because another streamer here on Twitch is also working with that. That's the old Interplay movie file format for like the old Baldur's Gate, Fallout 2. It's a fun little format. XML might be kind of interesting. And I think I had up here like JPEG and something else. Where did I have JPEG? There, JPEG and ELF. If you don't know what ELF is, on Linux, executables are stored on disk in the ELF format. So, a lot of the time. I think there are other alternative formats, but ELF is a really popular one. So if we could parse ELF, we could get interesting things out of just looking at a program, like what are the libraries it needs, what versions of those libraries. So there's kind of interesting things like that. Yeah, ping MKV. I should probably just add that to my list, right? Why don't we do it now? PNG parser. Interesting historical note. I've been parsing GIF, right? Do you know why ping exists? Well, probably in here somewhere, there'll be a mention of a license or a patent. Yeah, see? Licensing? Well, back in 1989, GIF was copyrighted property of CompuServe. And specifically, like, the LZW compression format they use, which is actually really easy to code, was protected by patents, and that you just look up on Wikipedia. It started a huge stink on the internet, CompuServe, and I think whoever ended up owning the rights to GIF started demanding money from websites and stuff, and so the end result of it is a consortium of folks on the internet decided, let's come up with something new, and that ended up being PNG. So the reason PNG exists today is because companies tried to extract licensing revenue for the patents around GIF GIF files. So ping will be an interesting thing. It's supposed to be the patent-free, license-free alternative to GIF. So you can also do animations just like you could do in GIF, and it's more modern. It's got more color spaces and more bit depth options. GIF is sort of limited, right? If you may or may not know, to 8-bit colors. So the global color table, it's only 256 entries. So that's the number of colors you have in every frame. You can't have any more. If you wanted more, you do tricks like dithering, stuff like that. Or from frame to frame, you can have local color tables if you want. And that's to have every animation frame have a different set of colors, and you can kind of do tricks with that. GIF had alpha. It was called the transparent color. You find it in the somewhere here. If I could find it. Background color index. I believe background color index is an instruction to the decoder and the display software to don't paint anything if you see that color index. So yeah, you're right. It didn't have full alpha. It had 1-bit alpha. Either it was on and then you pick a color, or it was off. Yeah, so it's a 1-bit alpha. I guess it depends on the definition of full or alpha, I guess. So yeah, back to what I was doing. Right now, I am working on fixing all the errors in the code because I'm doing error-driven development. Right, I was working on centering and justifying. So this right now, if I change the window, see how it put all the blank space on the right? I'm like, hey, let's just center it. So I'm using eGUI again as the underlying graphics library. Immediate mode. Oh, I think I promised to show you this. So immediate mode graphics differs from declarative mode in that instead of declaring the structure of the UI as like a class structure or like like HTML, where it's like here's the layout organizationally, it's really just instructions like add this. Here's an image. Add it. And you can decorate it with things like I'm doing right now. I'm going to add it with a centered and justified layout. I think this takes a function which gets a self, which is a UI. So I would do UI, And then with that UI, I would add the image. I think that's the way we center. Oh, I need to have like the actual direction, right? I think I was in the middle of typing direction when I got distracted. So we'll use direction. Which direction are we doing? Left to right? Right to left? I think we're doing pick left to right, right? We might have to do this twice to center it horizontally and vertically, but I'm not sure. So I'm getting better at remembering to compile the Lua plugin. For a while, I was confused because I would run the Lua script and I'm like, hey, it's like nothing changed, right? Yeah, running the Lua script and having that instruction to load it, which is at the very top here, doesn't tell it anything about should you recompile it or not. It's up to me to do that. Okay, let's see. Oh, hey, look, it's centered horizontally. What about vertically? Actually, it did the right thing. So it's centering it horizontally and vertically. And it's preserving the aspect ratio, and that's exactly what we want. Hey there, dude, man. How are you today? All right, so I'm really happy with this. So we have automatic centering and preservation of aspect ratio, and all we had to do was get it into an image. So I didn't have it as an image before. At the beginning of the stream, if you weren't here, instead of getting the image drawn as a legit image, we were drawing a rectangle for every pixel, and we're doing it manually using the UI's painter. And I already deleted that code, so I can't show you what it looked like. But now what we're doing is we start with the pixels. We have to form a map, which is basically a sequence of the RGB, RGB. So here's the red, here's the green, here's the blue, here's the alpha. And we're using RGBA unmultiplied, and we're using this function that imports the image. Oh, hey, look. There's a kitty on my head. Hello, kitty. So before we were using the colors here, just drawing rectangles. Now we're actually just iterating through all the pixels, colors, getting them into RGBA unmultiplied so that we can import it into color image and then load it as a texture and then use that texture to form an image. And through the magic of fit to exact size with UI available space and centered and justified, does exactly what we want here. Make and Lua view. So it would, the equivalent of that would be the cargo build release package bridge and Lua. Actually, you don't use and, right? And. I should just do that. Yeah, good idea. So now every time I run that command, it will remember to do it. So see how when I move the mouse over to the left here, I can't click here anymore? There's something weird going on with my virtual machine, and that's been happening more and more lately, and I don't know how to fix it other than reboot the machine. So I'm going to do that now. It's pretty quick, so it's not going to be a big disruption. It does give me a chance to hydrate. I think the next thing I want to do is I want to actually have it track the mouse position when it's over the control and have it draw lines to show you where the mouse is. So eventually I want to have a bunch of bells and whistles with this image viewer. So, for example, if I were to hover over like the corner here, I want it to show like a white line, row and column, and on the left and then at the top, I want it to say what exact row and exact column number I'm on. I'd also like to be able to like either zoom in into a small area or maybe always show like, maybe if I hold down shift, it would show a magnified view around where my cursor is. I think I'd also like it to show a little ruler on the top and on the left. to show like, to give an idea of scale, like how many pixels, and I also like to be able to zoom in on any section of the image. So those are the features I'm kind of working on now. Time to rebuild the VM. Do you think maybe the VM itself is damaged? I did update the Ubuntu. That didn't help. It's running the latest version of Parallels. The only thing I could think of might be that something, I broke something in the configuration for the VM and how it does mouse, or something in the host OS changed that broke it. But I have so far unsuccessful at finding a solution. This send.sh copies my latest changes out of the VM so that, because I do all the version control outside now. Okay, let me fix some of the warnings here. Here's some of the things we don't need anymore. Corner radius, position rectangle sense, max. We don't need any of that stuff anymore. Because we're using the image to do a lot of that work, right? So we didn't need this. We didn't need that now, but I think I'm going to need it soon. Because what I want to do is kind of allocate a region of the window to draw the rulers. We're not going to do that yet. When I do that, is it going to hog that area of the screen? Or can I continue to show, like, this will return me a result, right? An inner response. So I should be able to use that to, like, do a sense, right? Sense. Wait, how do you sense within, would it be here that I do sense? Sense. This is an eGUI thing, right? This is how you tell it, hey, I want to sense just drag or click and drag, right? Or hover. I think hover is the one to get the mouse coordinates, right? Make an image respond to clicks and or drag. Well, hover is senses no clicks or drags, only senses mouse hover. I'm not sure exactly what they mean by mouse hover. I think it's what I want. But yeah, let's just print out what we get so far. So we get a response here. What if we just print it? So print line. It probably doesn't have a pretty print. Probably get an error here. So I'll have to do a debug print. Save. All right. See what we get. Get X window server and export display. It might be the X window server. Like, what if maybe just going to like rebuilding, like maybe some config is broken in the X windows. I have to be in examples for that to work. So maybe just rebuilding the VM will like reset the X window stuff and that'll fix it. Okay, so what is that? I think I'm getting a response from the wrong thing here. I think I need to actually grab it from UI add, maybe? Oh, wait, it's because of that. Now it's going to return response out, right? The subtle things not having a semicolon will do. The semicolon basically terminated the statement saying, I'm going to throw away what add returned, which is the response. And so we weren't getting anything out. Now it should tunnel it all the way back out, right? I could be wrong. Actually, I think it's there. It's just not showing it. Interact pointer position is none. Okay, that's the problem. I need to figure out how to tell it that I want to interact with the pointer position. Hey there, Peep.js. What Linux distro do I use? I use Ubuntu. Far more likely it's some weirdness in the VM display server and the VM weirdness doing the native X server would remove that from the question. So, you're saying like let the VM run headless and run an X server locally and then show that window? I'd have to learn how to do that. I think I last did that like 20 years ago. Back when like remoting your X Windows display was a thing. I haven't done that in so long. Okay. This thing returns. Oh, it doesn't return a response. So, but sense should. No, but how do I get the response back out? Is that what with layout does? There's an inner response. What does it do? Oh, there's helpers horizontal and vertical. I could have done that. Anyway. Is it the UI add that, oh, the UI add has the response. Okay. Can be checked for interactions as well as adding tooltips. Is it that I have to, oh, that's right. I have to use the response, right? I can't just print it. So I have to like say like if response dot, it's an inner response. Okay. Can I just get the inner response? If response dot, on hover and drag, highlight, interact. What's interact? Since more interaction, since clicks interaction will occur on the same plane, blah, blah, blah. That's probably not what I want. Clicked. That's how I would check if you clicked it. What's changed? Its underlying data was changed if it's a slider. Okay, it's not that. Contains pointer? I just want to get the actual coordinates. Oh, here we go. Hover position. Let me just, so, but really I only want to do it if the mouse did move, right? So maybe there's something in here like if it moved. Wait, what's the difference between hover and interact pointer position? Maybe I need to do interact instead of hover. Interactive. That's not what I want. Is it? Oh, that's to query a sense to see if it is interactive. Oh, should I be using these? Maybe not. I think I'm supposed to use like the... Okay, I don't think I want hover. I just don't know what drag exactly means. Maybe I don't need sense at all. Maybe I can always get it out. That's something to try. What if I just... Let's just get the pointer position. I think I'm just going to print it out. So, pointer. Like that. Yeah, this is... let's just leave it at... Hover. Just see what I get there. What's old is new again? Hey there, TS Just. Good morning. Good morning, Europe. And the UK. Okay, pointer is none. That's not good. I'm guessing that maybe I need to do... Let's do sense all. Oh, sense everything. Sense all the things. And inner might not be the right thing too, right? Or, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. No, pointer's still... Oh, hold on. If I click and drag, I see it. Okay, so it's not interact position is if we're actually dragging. So would it be hover? Hover? Pause? I think it might be hover position. It's just, I don't know what exactly they mean by hover. Like sometimes hover means like you stop the mouse and it's now hovering. And you're not technically hovering until you've stopped for a while. Nope. It's the current mouse position. So that's exactly what I want, right? Yep. Yeah, and see when I move the mouse out, it became none. And with the mouse in, it's some again. And when I'm on that border region, it goes to none. Yeah, see that? Okay, so what's the difference between that and not doing inner? The inner response. What's the difference between response and inner? Response of the area. Oh, what the user closure return versus the area. So it is, I do want the inner. Because that's what this thing returned, which is this response, which is the response of the widget, which is what we want. Okay, got it. So let's, now that we know it's that, we can say if let some position equals that, let's draw some lines. So UI.painter.line, we have a vector of points. Is there like a convenience one to just draw a straight line between 2 points? Line segment. There we go. Paints a line from the start point to the second. So we have 2 positions in here. New. So let's do like the vertical line first. So the x coordinate is going to be position.x and the y coordinate is going to be 0, right? Or actually it's going to be this where is it? This thing, UI available size. Actually, how do I would really like to know what this returned. Like, can I get... Is there something in the response that tells me the area? I'm looking for things that have rectangles. Interact rect. Rect. It's just rect. Let's print that out and make sure that it is what I think it is. Print line. We'll hold that for now. What I want is I want the area of the where it actually put the image, because that's how I'm gonna current turn mouse coordinates into image coordinates. Yep, that's exactly what I want. Look at that. Tells me the rectangle that the image is drawn inside of. Perfect. So then I can uncomment this, and I can say we want to go from area.top, comma, to bottom, right? And the stroke, there's like a convenience function to just pick a color. Okay, width, I don't know. Let's make it 1, I guess. Color, I think there are like built-in ones we can use, right? White, yeah, just use white. Cool, and then let's draw the horizontal one. So that will be area left, right? Comma y, and area right, comma y. That's position.y. Okay, see if I did it right. I guess we're still printing area. That's okay. I forgot to remove that. Yeah, we can see an image now, TS Just. You missed my last stream. That was the accomplishment I got. Oh, look at that. I got a little thing that follows it. Doesn't seem to be exactly on it, though. Like, I think it's a little off. Might be a little off. If there's extra space, it's going out of range. But that, you know, that's okay. I'll have to find out what the inner rectangle actually is. And I think maybe the image can tell us that. Right now, I'm getting the area of I think that what's holding onto the image. It looks like it's a little off to me. Like it's not right on the tip of the cursor. But maybe that's an artifact of how my cursor is drawn. I draw the cursor like bigger so that my old eyes can see it better. So maybe that is correct. Okay, now I guess the next goal would be it should not draw the cursor when we're out of range. To know if we're in and out of range, though, I need to know the difference between this area and the images area. How do I figure that out? Okay, because, yeah, it's this width layout that's returning its area, right? Inner response, hold on. I'm getting the inner response, though, right? What the user closure returned. That's what this returned. This has a response. Kind of need to know what that image's size ended up being. Maybe I can extract out like where it ended up going. Or maybe I need to do a sense. No, wait, I already am doing a sense on the on it. Okay, so it's got to be here somewhere, right? Rounding alt text. I guess it's not here. You know, I don't know. I don't know how this like layout works. Oh, wait. Maybe it's the layout I need to ask. That might be it. So it's this layout that we might... Oop, I accidentally hit a character there. Might be this layout that we have to ask. But how do I know what it ended up getting? Is it the width layout? Oh, it might be this thing. Yeah, so if we get the response and we let outer, let's assume that it's the outer responses area is response dot rect. Wait a minute. Response dot rect. Okay, fine. And then let yeah, let area is response inner rect, and I have to do like a response inner hover position. And let's do outer area and inner area. I'm just guessing that this is what I want. I don't know for sure. Because then we can see, are we actually within the inner area or not? Nope. It's the same. Outer and inner area the same. So then how do I get... That's not it. Intrinsic size? Plus the frame's padding. No, that's not it, right? Okay, I don't know how to get it. Maybe I need to look it up. Let's look it up. GUI layout. Oh. How do I want to ask my my AI overlord? With centered and justified layout. With a widget, how do we tell the area of the widget inside? How do we tell the area of a widget placed inside centered and justified layout? In eGUI. Assist me. Generate that answer. Determine the area of a widget centered and justified layout. You can use the UI max rect. Provides the maximum rectangle available for the widget. Represents the area that the widget can occupy. It's not exactly what I want. Follow-up question. If I just let centered and justified place the widget, how do I tell the difference between the maximum rectangle and the actual area the widget? Actually, I think I might know what might be happening. The image might actually have that big area, but image itself is no, it's the layout, right? Because it was putting on the top left and not centering it before. Duck AI, tell me. Oh, wait, I hit the wrong thing. I actually just want to hit enter, right? Why is it going to Duck AI? Can't I hit a follow-up? Maybe I do need to go to Google instead. I want to have to give it a try. It's going to have me sign up. What if I just agree? Okay, there we go. I figured it out. Cashew dude? What is cashew dude? Am I the chillest? I'm hoping cashew dude is a term of endearment and not an insult. Okay, the widget has a size that can be obtained using the size method. Okay, I guess I need to collect that size back out. That shade died. So I guess this is saying like, well, how do I guess I would get the image out. And then I'd add the image. But then that ends up owning it though, right? How do I get it back out? How do I get the widget size after it's added to the UI? Use the response object. The response contains the size. Okay. Okay, that's what I was getting, like rect size. Get rect. But it was giving me the size regardless of how it was the extra area. And it was giving me the outer size, right? So we don't yet know this inner area. Wait, what? Oh, I'll do that. We'll use the outer area for now. You know what the inner area is. It is Rust. You didn't figure that out from the stream title? Okay, so if I make it wider, yeah, it's the outer rectangle, so I don't know how to get that inner area. Still figuring it out. So the AI was trying to tell me that I could just get it here. Image area. That's going to give me the size, right? Not the area. Yeah, that's just going to give me the texture size. It's not what I want, though. Chair mode activate? What do you mean chair mode? What's chair mode? Okay. I've put the widget inside a centered and justified layout. So the rect I get back out is the outer area, including the padding around the widget. How do I get the inner area of the widget only? Asking the AI overlord. Includes the outer area, which includes any padding. To get the inner area, you need to account for this padding. So get the outer. Determine the padding by using the UI spacing method to get the current spacing settings, which includes padding and margins. Interesting. Why does it say button padding? And why is this doing it inside the centered thing? Why does it say button padding? Because it's UI button? Spacing? Response dot inner dot spacing? There's no spacing. Oh, it's the UI spacing. This doesn't seem right though, unless, yeah. Let's see, let's just see what it returns. Doesn't implement display. This just doesn't feel right. I feel like I'm going down the wrong path here. I feel like AI is sending me the wrong direction. PewDiePie reference? Very, very young, early PewDiePie reference. So that makes sense that I wouldn't know it. I don't think that that is actually changing as I'm moving here. As I'm resizing this, it's not changing this. So that's, the spacing is wrong. Unless it's like the spacing inside of here. So what if I move that into here? Actually, won't it? It won't really. I'm guessing it won't really know until after it's added it. So I want to do something like let response equal and then return the response back out, right? Made an entire runtime standard library, and for some reason IO the was it Uring Linux async framework never signals to the program that it has completed. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, this is still wrong. This is some kind of static thing. AI is completely wrong here. It's not spacing. I think it's just Duck AI is just totally broken. Okay, let's go back to a traditional thing. Turn off assist. Find widget cord inside of the layout. Hey, look at that. We got the right answer. That's for Qt though, not for eGUI. Back. Okay. This is the guy who made the eGUI framework, by the way. Okay, but yeah, that didn't really help though. Let's be more specific. eGUI layout widget inner rectangle. Yeah, if you know exactly where it should go, you do put. But okay, this isn't helping. This is just going to the documentation again. Maybe I should have just read the documentation. Okay, it does say the widget should use up all the available space, so maybe I need to actually ask the image what its actual size is. This doesn't look like the right path to the eGUI documentation to me, but maybe it is. It is not. It was some other copy of it. Okay, I'm going to look up image, because maybe there's some hint in here. Oh, here we go. Calc size. Maybe that's what I need. But why calculate it if it already knows? I know it's not size because I looked at this code, right? And it just looks at and just returns the texture size, which is not what I want. I want how it if it expanded to fill it, what is it? Yeah, I don't know. When TS just said what I'm working on, you don't understand? I can, just a real brief overview. I'm working on oh, what happened to my other shell? Wait, what? What's ports? Ports? Do I not have my other shell visible? That's weird. I lost it. Sorry about that. This is the tool I'm working on. It can load a data file in. This is the file pogslide. Looks like this when you decode and render it. It's a animated GIF, right? So animated GIFs, actually all GIFs start with GIF, and my tool opens that file and interprets, basically parses the file, figures out what's in it. It doesn't do it automatically. You have to give it a recipe. So the recipe is a description of the format in the language I came up with that we compile and load at runtime. So I don't see it loaded, so it's loaded here. Here's what it looks like. So elements to parse look like functions, and they're composable. So this is how we parse a GIF. This is how we parse a header, and this is where header shows up in the GIF. Same thing like header has a version, and the version is another element. So we see that in the final output here. GIF is actually the signature inside the header, and there's a version after it. Logical screen follows that, and the logical screen description is there. And here's the width and height of the logical screen. So that's down here. Logical screen has a descriptor which has a width and the height. This is basically saying parse 16 bits, interpret as an unsigned integer, and call it that. And then parse that, and then parse that. And then it basically just goes from top to bottom in order traversal of the data tree, so to speak, until it gets all the way out. Trailer's the last thing, which will be the last byte of the file way down there. Yeah, it's generalized over the format. So there's two input files. There's the raw data that you want to parse, the GIF file, a POG slide here. And then there's the description of how to parse it, which is in a custom language. So we use Lollipop and Logos to form the compiler. So the format description gets turned from characters, strings into tokens using Logos. And that token stream gets matched against the grammar of the language with Lollipop. And that builds in memory, basically an in-memory representation of the whole data structure of the recipe on how to parse. That's what you can think of it as. And then when the tool actually runs, after it compiles the formats, it kind of matches the recipe with the incoming bytes. And so like the fact that it found 11 data blocks is because when it was looping through, literally with a loop statement, it was looking ahead 8 bits, and it would only break out if the next byte was a 3B, and that has to match trailer. So it looped 12 times until finally it found that the last byte was 3B. It'd be cool to have in the debugger. You can inspect memory. You'd have to tell it how to parse the memory. You'd have to tell it the data type in memory, but yeah. So you could do it in 2 steps. If you had in your debugger, you had a memory dump, and if you wrote that to a file, then you could put that file into this tool, tell it the data type, and it would be able to show you that. So I did a GIF first, and I also did JSON. So if you're familiar with JSON, like here's how it would look in my parsing language. So a document has a value with some optional white space. Value, you look ahead 1 character, and if it's curly brace, it's an object. Could be a string, could be a list. An object is 2 braces, right? Open, close, and there's a loop. We loop until we don't see a comma. But as long as we see commas, we're parsing names and values. A name value is a name and a value. And here you see how it's recursive. Value goes back to the top, right? So you can have an object inside of an object inside of an object. And that's perfectly legit. And ultimately, it knows how to get the next thing because of these look-aheads, right? So if it can't figure out what comes next, it's going to say unable to parse it. But I think I did an exhaustive list of what the next characters would be in a JSON, as long as you skip the white space in between. And that's where you just loop as long as you have bits remaining. If you look ahead 1 character, and if it's one of the white space characters, then hey, you match it as white space. Otherwise, you break out of the loop. How to use this today? Only I can use it. So this is not an open source project because of one of the rules that my employer has on me is I can't open source anything right now without their approval. I also can't work on game dev. But I like my job, so I kind of follow the rules. So for now, this is only for me as my hobby. I would love to open source this though. Actually, one suggestion, and I had to check if this is okay, because this might be okay because technically I'm not posting the source code. It would just be making it available on the web. Someone suggested making it run in the browser. If it ran in the browser, I could put it on a web server somewhere and just give you all the link, and then you could run the tool inside your web browser. Because all of the crates that I'm using should work on the WASM target, the WebAssembly. So what's the list there? So like the hardest thing I think would be the windowing backend. I don't remember how to do that, but like right now I use W in it to make windows on the screen. As far as I know, though, eGUI and WGPU, which how I do the graphics, they have a WebAssembly or web browser backend, I think. So it should work. So I think the only problem is the W in it, and the fact that it's not packaged. It's not like I'd have to build it differently to make it a WebAssembly program, so to speak, right? I have to figure that stuff out. Just give me the exe. Sure, I'll ask work, hey, can I give TS Just and can I give Nightshade Dude? Can I just give these guys like copies of the program? Like, they promised not to publish it online, right? Now I completely forgot where I was. Was I? Just go back. Oh, I was trying to, I'm trying to calculate the, I did show you guys a lot before I got off track, didn't I? I'm trying to figure out the inner area here, right? And the spacing wasn't it. Maybe I can ask the image its size and position. It's not going to know its position, right? But maybe it knows its size, and then because I know it's centered and justified, image dot, no actual size, rect, maybe? Oh, wait, doesn't it have its own, doesn't this response dot rect actually tell me the inner rectangle? What if we get that? So let inner area equal that, and what if I print that here? Maybe that's, and then I just need to tunnel that back out, right? Other shell script, there we go. Can't distribute. No, it was just open source I can't distribute. But the question is, can I distribute closed source? I haven't asked them that yet. Like, if I make a program in my spare time and I put that program on a web page, is that okay? Okay, well, the answer is that the inner area is still the large area, not the small area in between. That's a bummer. That's true. If I compiled it and I just gave you the exe, it's not open source, right? So maybe I could, I don't know. Maybe they'll probably say, "Does this have anything to do with your work here?" And I say, "No." It's fine. That's what they probably do. But if I need it in writing, I don't know if I get. Lawyers never like to give things in writing. That's the problem, right? I could maybe get someone to say they're cool with it, but like, I don't know if they'd be able to get it in writing and all that stuff. So how do I get, I need to ask the image, okay, we asked you to fit to the exact size, but of course you're not going to use it all. Like, what's the actual size? How do I ask it that? And it's gonna be in here somewhere, right? Either that, or maybe it's either that, or it's like something I can ask the image. What does fit to exact size say? Maybe there's a hint there. Corporations have lots of red tape. Yeah, exactly. But filling your program, not telling the kernel to advance to the next complete item, probably because your runtime is not pulling multiple futures simultaneously per thread. It's possible. If you have multiple futures, it depends on the executor you're running. You can get futures that kind of get stuck because they get skipped or bypassed, or they're lower priority or something like that. The fact is, you can't pull multiple futures simultaneously. It'll seem simultaneous, but like in actuality, it's probably doing it's probably iterating through all of them and picking the first one. So I guess the question is, like, how is it iterating all of the futures that are eligible to run? Is it giving them all fair chance to run or not? Because let's say you have an executor that has a concept of priority, and you have a bunch of high priority tasks, and you have a low priority one. As long as there's at least one high priority task that's eligible to run, the low priority one will never run, even if it's eligible. Yeah, your locking has to be like fair, and if it's not fair locking, you could have a feature that's never pulled. It's not fair. Well, there's multiple ways to interpret that it's not fair. It could be like it's not fair. I can't figure this out. Yeah, fit to exact size. This is guaranteed never to exceed that limit. Yeah, but I guess it's implied that we're doing a aspect ratio preservation. So, what? Maybe I can ask the image for its maintain aspect ratio. Whether or not the image fit should maintain. What's image fit? Oh, that's what we want. We want the image fit. How do I get that? I need to be able to get that out. Size fit? Can we get that out somehow? Fit. It is public. Ooh. Yeah, let's see if I can get that out. So there's like, is there a function size? That's not the right one. I need the image size. Well, what does the image actually have in it? It has the size, so can I get that out? It's not public, so there needs to be some way to extract it out. Load in calc size? I mean, is that it? I just need to call that. I mean, that's exactly what I would like to know. Okay, so image dot calc size. What's the difference between calc size and load in calc size? I have no idea what that means. Load for size, available size. I think we want load in calc size because that's where we give it an available size, which will be the same as what we already gave it here. See what we get back, because that returns me back a vector, the actual size. And it's always sum. So I have no idea why they put it into an option, but they did. So size. I know it's going to be some size, but let's see. This seems a lot harder than it should be. Okay, actually, I think it is giving me the right number now. It's 380, and if I make it wider, it's still 380, but if I make it a little bit taller, now it's going up. Right? Until I hit the wall the other direction. And then it starts going back down. Okay. I think that'll do. Because then I can just do the math to calculate where it goes into this area, right? It's going to be centered in this area by this size. So we'll know that if it's centered, if we just subtract these two, it's 334. So there's no padding. But on the vertical axis, it's 438 minus 334 over 2 is going to be the top and bottom. So I was hoping I didn't have to do it this way, but yeah, I guess we're going to have to do it that way, right? Lockless would always take off the top. Thus, it's not fair execution because it reschedules to the top. Oh yeah, if you put it to the bottom, it's like you had a line, but people got to go to the front of the line whenever they approached the line, right? No, you got to start at the back of the line. Otherwise, the people in the back never get to the front. Okay. Problem is I have this size here, but I need it out here. Okay, ultimately, I want to know the inner area. And only if the position is within. So I need to say if position.x is, well, if inner area contains, can't say contains, it doesn't know the size, it doesn't know the type yet. Let's do that for the moment. Contains position. Oh, and by the way, you used to not be able to do this, but this is in recent versions of Rust. You can collapse these two like this. You used to not be able to do that in Rust. Now you can. Whoa ho ho! Look at that. I have combined an if let with just a normal condition. That's pretty recent Rust that they let you do that now. Okay, so the problem is it's not this anymore, right? Let's make a function to do this. Center. Calc center. So we're going to give it the outer area and we're going to give it the size. So problem is, how do I get the size out of this? I think I can do it this way. Yeah, there we go. We tunneled it out. Used to use nightly just for the let chains feature. Yeah, I love it now that we have that. It just looks so much nicer. Okay, so because the math is sort of ugly, I just chose to put this in its own thing. Function calc center. We're gonna get we should let it borrow. Well, hold on. The rect is copyable, right? Yeah, so I don't need to worry about that. It's just a outer, the rect, and the inner is a size 2, right? Vec 2? And we're returning a rect. And right now we're just return outer, which is the wrong thing. Just to make sure this compiles, and it does not. Because, what's size? Option vec2. Why is it an option? Oh, this should be expect. Should figure out actual image size. There we go. Now it's known. Okay. Now to do the math. So it would be some rectangle. Actually, there might be a helper that does it, like a center or something. From center size, is that it? Term size times 2. That might be it, actually, right? Maybe not. No, that's if you have a position in the center and you surrounded with a rectangle of a certain size. Dude, that's kind of what we want. If I just take the center position of the outer rectangle, right? From center size, the center would be the outer rectangle's center. And the inner size, right? Isn't that exactly what I want? That might be exactly what I want. Then I can just replace the function, because it looks like if that's what that does and that's exactly what I want, then I don't need my own function. Ooh, I think it worked. Look at that. Ooh, it worked. Look, it doesn't draw it unless it's inside the inner rectangle. Whoa, look at that. So testing the other way, look, no cross, and then, oh, I have a cross, and then no cross. Cool, it got to work. Woohoo! All right. So that, I can just put in exactly where it is here. Outer area size. Don't need this function. So the ugliness, I still have this ugliness where I have to do load and calc size in order to get it out, right? I was hoping to be able to get that directly from the image, but I can't figure out how to do it. This I can just place here, right? Well, better to name it, right? Better to name it, and then we're combining it with the size to pass it out. We have to tunnel it out because this is actually an inner callback function to the width layout. Like that's the only place I use outer area. Well, I like naming it. Response rect, I have no idea what that means. But with that, it's like, oh, response rect is the outer area, and the inner area is go to the outer area center and get this from the size of the image. We should actually just name that image actual size. Right? Cool. Nice. All right. That's a lot of work. I think next, let's try to add rulers. The idea there would be to like reserve some space. Let's just do the horizontal ruler first. We would reserve some space, and then we would draw into it later once we know this inner size here. So already my function is getting really complicated. I probably need to clean this up. Yeah. For now, let's, I guess, am I keeping this? Just in case I need it later. Oh, I need it now. I want to allocate not the use available size. Well, I guess we want to know what the available size is. What do I call this? Total size? And let well, it's going to be this, right? Allocate some space. No, hold on, let me think about this. No, we know the amount of space we want to allocate. It's going to be like a certain fixed vertical size in height, but in width we're going to use the total size as width. So this is going to be a vec2, no, not vec2 2. So this is total size x, and then the y, let's just pick a constant here. Const ruler height. Let's just go with 20 for now. Okay. And what's wrong with this? Takes two arguments, but one was supplied. I need to give it the sense. Don't really care about it, so we're going to do sense none. Sense empty. So we reserve some space. Let's name this something better. This is top ruler area. Try block specialty, generic const expressions, thread, local, negative bounds, one cell get mute. Well, by then you won't need to do that because it'll just be built into the language. You won't even need to call it out in 2050. Actually, in 2050, will we still be programming or will we just be vibe coding? Say, hey AI, make me an app. Oh, I want the app to be, I want it to be in green. Yeah. We're gonna move this out. It's gonna complain that it's here, that it's an item after a statement, but I don't care. I just want to verify right now. That after we draw the image, I can draw the ruler here. So UI.painter. Rec filled, and the rectangle is going to be the top ruler area. Corner radius 0. Fill color, let's make it something obnoxious. Red. Okay. So now I should get like an obnoxious red rectangle at the top of the image. Or like 2030 on vibe coding. Yeah, probably closer than we think, right? There are already some streamers here on Twitch who do vibe coding. Quantum Apprentice is a streamer who was trying to do vibe coding to generate a parser for a certain format. And that's why I got interested, because I'm like, if AI can't figure it out, let's program my parser to do it. Okay, we have an obnoxious red area where we're going to put the ruler in there. So you'll see it coexists handily with the image. Go into the ruler and it stops doing it. It seems to be like a margin there. Either that or my math is off for drawing. Okay, I think we're going to need a little bit taller than 20, but so let's instead of a rectangle over the whole area, let's do a line segment like we did up there. Make it white and go from top ruler area, left, and top ruler area bottom minus, make another constant. Ruler line width. It's specified as a width, right? Width. Let's make it like 2. And it's always drawn from the center, right? So wouldn't we do it divided by 2? And we're going from left to right, right? So it would be kind of nicer to just fix that coordinate. So ruler line Y. Okay, delete this stuff. Didn't like the divide here. Because I need to be a float. There we go. Already 11 o'clock. Man. I'll probably be streaming tomorrow, but I don't know when I'm going to start. That didn't work because I was foolish. I did left, left. We left to right, right? Come on, you could do it. Okay, so, I think we should only draw above the actual image, right? And then I'm thinking ahead here. I'm going to want a tick mark for like the left edge and another one for the right. And we're going to like want to draw 0 and then maybe at some interval, depending on how wide a certain string is, like the number, like the column number, we'll skip ahead so we don't draw tick marks on top of labels. But let's first make sure that so it's not really it's the inner area, right? The inner area, left and right. I'm gonna have to start playing with fonts. I'm gonna have to go find the code where I was playing with fonts because we're gonna assume we're gonna want to draw some stuff here, right? So let's draw the vertical line segment. Let's go like the full height, so from 0 to the Y. And then while we're at it, let's draw the one on the right too. Zero it does not like. Dot. Actually, it won't be 0, it's gonna be outer area. Top, right? Because there's still that padding that the window frame, you need to respect the padding. Respect the padding. That did not do what I expected. It went down instead of up. Oh, it's not outer area top. Shoot, it's top ruler area top. Is that what I had before and I thought it was wrong and I put it in there anyway? Probably. Okay. And I guess do I want the line to like draw through the ruler there? Actually, what I'd really like is to have it draw the column number right above the ruler. What if we do that now? Because that would be nice to see. The only problem is it's going to collide with my other tick marks unless I keep them on different vertical offsets. But yeah, now I have to find where I messed with fonts before. Okay, so there's a font ID. How did I pick the font before? Font family? This is how I did it. So you make a font ID and you pick like a family. And then okay, I need to figure out how this font is actually used. Draw. Okay, we can do UI fonts F row height of the font ID. Actually, I'm going to steal that because I'm going to use that down here. Need I wonder why that wasn't imported. This, please select all occurrences of that. No. Try again. And just do UI. There we go. And then font ID also import. Okay. Back to here. So that's how we get text heights. Aha! Here's how we paint text. I am stealing it. All right. And then after we draw that, let's draw some text. So the position. Oh, this is pixel align thing. Yeah, I remember doing this. This is to, well, let's not worry about that yet. That's to like get rid of like if you end up drawing between two pixels, it looks weird. I think I might need to do that, but for now I'm not going to worry about it. So let's align left. Let's align center bottom. That's the easiest to do. And the actual label is we're going to format a string with where's the y coordinate of the position? Where did I do that? Oh, wait. Right here. Okay, so let's move this down. Wait. Yeah, let's move this down. So we'll do the ruler always, and then if we're actually drawing, if the cursor's inside there, then we're gonna draw it there. Okay. So then it's gonna be the position dot x. Here's where we need to put the font thing. Like font family or something. It was I just saw it on the screen and then I typed too much. This thing. I think we're just gonna cheat. Let's make the font once. Near the top maybe. I don't know, right, like right here. Let's make it a little bit bigger because I don't want it to be like too hard for chat to read. And then we just do font clone and then white again. Everything's gonna be white. The background's black. I like dark mode. Okay, where to position it? The x coordinate should be the same. The y coordinate should be right on the ruler's bottom, I think. Top ruler area, bottom up, but minus the oh, I had a thing for that, right? Ruler line x. So it should just be that. Let's make another constant for that. So let ruler text guide line equal that. Or text y. The reason I have divide by 2 is that I'm assuming when you do, we ask the painter to make a line segment with a stroke. Oh, by the way, this needs to be ruler line length or width. When you have a stroke of like 2 pixels, logically 2 pixels, then I think the position's the center, so it's gonna half of it's gonna be above that y coordinate, and the other one's gonna be below. So, if this is the absolute bottom of the ruler, I want to go up half a ruler line, draw it centered there, so that the text should go down to that. Like if we're aligning center bottom, it should be that coordinate. Okay, yeah. I guess we don't need to clone it yet, but we will need to clone it later. Just clone it when we need to. What's wrong with this? It just says don't need to borrow it. All right, let's see if this works. So if this works, then when I mouse over the image, it should show the x coordinate on the top ruler. Ooh, look at that. It's a little bit too big and there are a little too many decimal points. Yeah, I think what we should do is just round to the nearest pixel. Oh, the other thing is we don't want to draw too far. We kind of want to know when we're drawing too far to the left or right, right? So we'll probably, instead of doing this, we'll probably need to find what is the actual size of that text, and then kind of align it ourselves. So let's just form the text first. So text equals this. And let's do the rounding. I thought there was a way to round to a integer, but I guess round gives you a float. Uh-oh. Too much. Too many lines. It's like you have made too much code in this one function. So I will remember to refactor this later. All right, but for now, we're just letting the code flow. Like the column might be the UI coord space, not the image. Yeah, I think you're right. I have to subtract the left edge of the image, don't I? Yep, you're right. So that should be 0, right? It's not. It's 357. You are correct. So it's this minus inner area, I think, right? Left? Round that. Yep. Margale, you are correct. Oh, it's also giving me the scaled up coordinate, not the actual coordinate of the pixel. Right? So I need to, this scale, it should be the original image size. Let image size equal, well, we know what that is, right? That's image width. Okay. Then we can, once we know the inner area, we know the scale, right? Let x scale equal inner area dot width divided by self image width as f32. Right? And then I can divide by the x scale to put it back into image coordinates. Maths. Hey there, Captain Kangaroo Slab. I am not Morpheus. Oh, there's 0, and there's 112. The problem is it's off. Pretty sure. It's 112 pixels wide, so that's correct. I think the round is wrong. It's rounding too high. It's rounding up to the next pixel over. I I think I need to add half a pixel and then round, right? Or no, subtract half a pixel? Let me think about this. So that's exactly 0, and then we quickly go to 1. So I think I need to subtract half a pixel, then round. So that's simply minus 0.5, right? Then round. Any advice to learn free? Depends on what you want to learn, I guess. If you want to learn Rust, that's where I would start. Rust has got a pretty good intro. Let's see, I think that worked. Yeah, it shouldn't go to 112. It should go to 111, then stop. So the next challenge would be when we do draw that x-coordinate, we don't want... Oh, how did I get a -0? See a -0? We don't want to actually have the text hit the edge of the ruler, do we? All the mouse position front seem to be offset half a pixel. Yeah, I think so. So I think the way to do it would be we figure out how big the text is, and then we like do the centering ourselves. We just figure out what the area is, and then we tell it to draw in the exact area. I think I can do that, right? With this thing. Or I can just calculate the rectangle and just give it the bottom left instead of the bottom center of the rectangle. Okay, so let text width equal, and then I had a height, but really I care about the width, right? Why don't I just get the oh wait, it's different from this, right? And I've done this before. Where did I do this? I can't remember, but there's something that we can do with the painter or text or something. Painter text. I can't remember what it is. Is it layout? I don't think this is right. Will wrap text at given width and line break. I don't think that's what we want. Oh, to find out the size of text, do self layout or, okay, so we would ask the painter to lay out the text and it gives us a galley? What the heck is a galley? I guess we want no wrap, right? The galley. What the heck is a galley? Text that has been laid out ready for painting. Okay. That seems like a lot more work than I need. I guess it's got to do it, right? But I only really need the rectangle out of it. Unless, like... paint the... So I can lay it out, no wrap, and then adjust the rectangle and then just call galley? Paint the text has already been laid out. Okay. I don't know why there's a fallback color. I don't know, I'm scared. Multi-line? Yeah, but it should work for single line too, right? Unless there's a simpler one for single line. It just says layout or layout no wrap. It'll return where it ended up, but by then it's too late. I think we do want to do this layout no wrap. So then, really I'm not using this helper at all. I'll probably use that later though. Galley? Returns a rectangle. That's not what... I don't know why I called it that. We don't actually need to know that. Okay. Let's not worry about the centering or the pixel alignment stuff yet. Let me just preserve the original one and we'll make this do a galley or layout, no wrap. The text, the font ID is font, the color is white. Galley. Gonna mutate that, right? UI.painter.galley. I don't understand. What is the position then? Blah, blah, blah. Row, the bounding rectangle. Oh, the top is always 0. Okay. So I don't use that for the position. So the position part goes in here. So this positions this position. Well, hold on. We have to figure out the position. This doesn't need to be mutated after all, right? Let text position equal, we'll optimistically compute it to be that, but then we'll say if text position dot x is less than, well, there's probably a way to tell it to adjust. Clamp? Oh, wait, no, that's the center position. Wait, that's exactly what I want, because then I can say, I can take the minimum is inner area left plus, okay, let's add a convenience. Let's get the text width. Text galley dot, wait a minute, how do I get the, okay, the rect, okay, it's just rect. Rect dot width. Okay, so I got the text width out. Actually, can't I just chain this together? Lamp. The minimum. And this is doing both the x and the y coordinate, right? So this needs to be in like not left, but like bottom left. Left bottom. And then offset. I need to like add half the text width to it. Seal. I'll just, you know, I'll just do it. I'm trying to do too many things at once here. Morpheus is simply the messenger. Select text center. We're just going to deal in x coordinates here. So this is going to be this thing, position x actually, clamp, inner area left plus text width over 2. And inner area right minus text width over 2. Then the text position is that. Then we galley it at text position. Text position, text galley, fallback color white. what a bunch of complexity. I don't know about you guys, but I find like the math involved in like calculating where everything should go on screen is so complicated. Oh, it put it underneath instead of above. I did that wrong. Okay, yeah, it's wrong in a couple of areas. It's probably the way, because the way galley works, right? You can create the galley with a layout or, okay, uncover. What's this layout job thing? The job that this guy is the result of contains the original string and the, oh. Yeah, this H align. Okay, so the alignment is, by default, it's like the top left or something like that. Because I just gave it the text, the font ID, and the color, and I guess let's just look at the source. What does it end up doing with that? Simple. I'm just seeing like what's the alignment? Can't even tell. I don't know. Let me just run that again, just kind of get a sense of what the alignment is. I think it's top left instead of bottom center now. So yeah, when I go over to the right here, not what I expected actually. I thought it would stop right there. But it doesn't. But we know the size, right? So I can adjust for that. I can do my own thing. So it's going to be text. Oh, wait, set text center. So it should be what? Minus text width over 2. And then it should be ruler text minus text galley red height. Something like that. So I'm going to want to refactor that into something reusable, like fit text within boundary. Okay, it's a little too close to the boundary. I should probably give it some, like, margin. Hey, look at that. It actually works. All right. Yeah, let's give it, like, a little bit of margin. Where am I doing all of this junk? Right here? We don't need to know it until right here. So const. I'm making it const now because in the future I'm actually going to have it as a const in the module where I put this helper. So like margin x. I don't know, 5 pixels maybe. It's going to be left plus half the width plus the margin. And on the right, it's. I don't think I need a right margin, but I feel like it should be balanced. Ooh, build that. Hey, that actually worked really well. Look at that. Cool. All right. So what I'm envisioning is I don't know if I want to keep drawing that, but that was there. I learned a lot of things about like the text layout there in eGUI that will come in handy later. But I think I need to figure out why. Oh, this is the thing about the. It's hard to see, but the pixel alignment when it's off, like lines that should be the same thickness end up not being the same thickness. And like if I just fudge this enough and get them to be the same thickness, it's not quite working out. Or maybe I had the width wrong on that line. I probably have the width wrong on that line. That's why it is. Anyway, my vision is to divide the x space up, and it should have 0 on the left, and then like have 100, or like I guess it would be like 20, 40, 60. But if like you zoomed out, 20 is way over here, so it could figure out dynamically that hey, I can put a position marker at 10, like 0, and then 10, and then 20, and then 30. And those would be like major tick marks, and then we might have minor tick marks just to make it look like an actual ruler. And then maybe we still draw the x-coordinate, but we draw it like on a row above, because I made enough space there on the ruler for 2 rows there. So that like if there's a mark for 40 and you're right at 42, it would draw 40, but then it would draw the 42 like a little bit above the 40 so they wouldn't collapse. Hey there, Apollo I. How are you doing? See, even though the number gets stuck there at the margin, I'm okay with that because I'd rather it be off from the vertical line, because they're still showing the vertical line there. I'd rather it be off than have it draw over the end of the ruler. So there's where it's exactly the aspect ratio. Okay, it bugs me that the right hand of the ruler is drawn with the wrong line width. Oh, because it's right there, right? There we go, fixed. Still enjoying the Big Apple? Yeah. Pays the bills. It does place, I still have the same constraints, right? I never really talked to the lawyers and stuff to see if I can. Like, for example, the stuff I'm doing here on stream, I'd love to open source it, or at least like post this on the web so people could play with it too. But like, you know, I might have to negotiate or at least make sure they're okay with that. But you know, the other thing I noticed about this, the pixels are all fuzzy, and I'm wondering if I can control the shader or if I'm going to have to do the shader myself. You know what I mean? Like when you when you're looking at an image really zoomed in, you don't want it to do that fuzzy blending, like the nearest. What's it called? The linear interpolation of the colors. You just want it to pick nearest, and so you want it to kind of look pixelated, and it's not doing that right now. Do they drag their feet? I mean, I'm okay with the restrictions. The way they are, you know? I think it's funny that I get a -0 right on the edge. So it must be rounding to -0 because it's a negative number way out there. Which is kind of funny. Took you 8 months to get permission just to continue working on it. Text space is a game, though, right? That was the biggest thing. That was like they said right away, no game dev. I'm like, okay, fine, no game dev. So if you really want to do game dev, yeah, I can see how they drag their feet on that one. So I'm avoiding the things that they called out as like that they don't want me to do, and I figured I'm avoiding what they don't want me to do, so they should be okay with what I'm doing. It's just like to get explicit permission to do certain things. Yeah, I have to go back to them and talk to them about it again. So what I'm just, if you're just joining, this is an image viewer for the output of a parser, and what we're parsing is this pog slide animated GIF. And the main UI I'm building looks like this, where this is the raw contents of that GIF file, and here's what the parser's figured out as what the file contains. And it does this by, you program it by telling it how to parse the format. So here's how to parse a GIF. And you can see it kind of matches, if I collapse all the structure, there's a header, logical screen, and data, and a trailer. Matches that, right? Header, logical screen, data, trailer. And data is in a loop, which is why I have like 12 or 11 of the datas here. And the specific image we're showing on screen and the other example is there. And instead of showing all these raw index numbers for the pixels, I wanted to eventually show what we see when we run this. I wanted to show that and like have it so where you can inspect individual pixels of the image, maybe zoom in on a certain area of the image, and I kind of want that built in here instead of this. I just haven't figured out exactly where I want to put it, and I figured I prototype the image viewer separately, but, and I'm also leveraging Lua scripting to do that. What's the purpose of what? Oh, what I'm doing? Yeah, the bottom right does look like a decent space. I'd have to steal from the log window though, but that's probably fine. So Apollo, you're asking me what the purpose of this whole thing is? This is just a hobby project because I like to look at file. I like different file formats. I'm into file formats. So the first time I ever started on making something like this was when I was learning the MP4 file format, and I just had a hard time following the structure, and so I made a program that visualized it on the screen to where like I would highlight different areas and it would show me the bytes, and then I had it actually highlighting it in layers, so it would show me like the box and then the size of the box and then the contents of the box in different colors. And I showed it to other people, and this was at like the last company I worked at, and they were super thrilled, like, hey, we could totally use this tool because we deal with this format and trying to figure out when our code is wrong and when we have a bad file or when a file gets corrupted, and we could use the tool to as like a super powered hex editor. So yeah, so like I can click on any byte and it'll tell me exactly where in the structure of the file that is. So a normal hex editor can't do that, but since mine is aware of the correlation between every single bit and the basically the syntax of the file, like what it maps to, I can click on either side and get to the corresponding. So yeah, it's like inspecting and SVG only mine's fully programmable. So I did that for GIF, and I'm also doing it for just to demonstrate that we can do it for any format we want. I also did JSON. So here's JSON, right? Document is a value is object string list number, and there's look aheads, so you can know what it should be. You know, an object has a brace, and then you loop as long as you have a comma. Otherwise, you break. You're going to get names and values. String, and there's value, and that you can see how it nests. So an object can contain a name value where the value is another object, right? And it can nest for as deep as you want. And the parser happily follows the structure. With the loop thing, you can insert an offset to dynamically get the frame count instead. This is a look ahead because of the plus. The syntax is a little bit subtle in that. If you see a minus, I had a lot of that in the JSON. It means ignore. So we parse optional whitespace, but we don't put it in the output. And that was mostly to keep the output clean. But yeah, the plus is really powerful in that if you don't know what's coming next, you could look ahead and you say, well, if the look ahead matches the trailer, we're going to break out of the loop because yeah, trailer is 3B. That's done here somewhere. Trailer is 3B, right? That's what that the 8 here means 8 bits. So reading from right to left, the next 8 bits, we're going to call that next, parse it as an unsigned integer, and treat it as a look ahead. Basically, after you parse it, rewind the bit stream back to the beginning of that field. So that byte we end up parsing twice. We parse it as a look ahead, and then we'll parse it either as part of data or trailer. That happens. I use that in JSON here. So we look ahead one character, and we see if it is a brace, then we're going to parse it as an object. So we're going to hit that brace a second time here. And there, since it's open brace, we expected a brace. And if it's not a brace, it's an error. Oh, I forgot to replace that with the this syntax. But yeah, it's the same thing. Oh, you defected to Huawei? Okay. Well, that makes more sense. Well, sorry to lose you, but gotta go wherever makes you happy and gets you what you need, right? Must have moved the 8 up to the loop line. Yeah, well, I don't expect you guys to like get everything the instant I show you, and I'm jumping around pretty quick. And there's some esoteric parts of this syntax. So like, for example, this alt right here, alt comma else break. So I made up this syntax as like a way of saying, we don't know what might be coming next, but first try to parse it as a comma. If that succeeds, then great, we found a comma, right? And then we would skip the else, and we would loop back, right? But if it doesn't parse it as a comma, don't worry. We didn't know if it was a comma or not. It's the alternate, so we could actually have like, it could be a comma or it could be a colon, and then it would try comma first, fail. Okay, no worries. Try colon, fail, no worries. Whichever one succeeds first is the one that we stick with, and if none of them succeed, we fall into the else, and all errors are discarded. So that's sort of a weird syntax, but I use it as a way to have a mix of parsing and flow control. So like, try a comma, but if it didn't work, flow control instruction, break out of the loop. It's kind of like a look ahead, but you don't have to parse it twice. It's like it's like a try catch, really. Try to parse it as a comma, but if it doesn't work, break out. It all worked out 5 times the pay, and they hired you as a director of innovation. Wow. That sounds like a lot of stress. Hey, but if that's what you like, more power to you. I'm happy being an individual contributor. As long as I get to do this in the evenings and weekends, I'm happy. It's super chill. Sounds awesome. Okay, back to the guess it's still open. Back to the ruler stuff. Almost midnight. I need to pick a stopping point. Maybe for tonight, I'll just do the vertical ruler, and then tomorrow I'll work on the refining the ruler, and then also zoom. I want to have a zooming in with scroll bars and all that good stuff. Also, I want to have like where maybe if I hold down Shift, or maybe just always, the point that we're mousing over, have it like show it in a little bit of a magnifying glass kind of effect, so we can actually see the boundaries between pixels. Oh, and also I need to see if I can customize the shader so that we can get a different shader config for this. Because I kind of like to see it pixelated, not linear interpolation like it seems. Pretty sure that's linear interpolation, where it's kind of pixelized, but you can kind of see where it's picking the color between the white and the black there, rather than just having a hard line between them. Let's do the vertical ruler and then we'll call it a night. How about that? Then the -0, maybe we'll keep that as a... Actually, no, let's fix that real quick, because I think I know how to fix the -0 thing. If we just before we round, we max it with 0. So that would be in the text here, right? So this, we just do max 0. I think that's all I need to do to prevent it from going negative. Oh wait, I think I need to do it before the 0.5. Shoot. Yeah, this is not going to be the right number. Actually, it worked out. But does it work out at scale? No. See, there's still a -0. Yeah, I need to do it after the after this, but before the round. That's 2 shits. I'll allow it. Wait, what happened to it? Yeah, there it is. Usually less shit to do, the higher you get right. But once shit goes south, it's all on you to oversee it. Yep. Automod is a bit of a prude, but it actually has helped me out a lot. Some people just come in and just start cursing right away, and I say, thank you, Automod. I didn't have to let my chat see that. Cool, no more -0s. Even when we give it a blank bar on the left. Yeah, 0 to 111. Perfect. All right, let's do the vertical bar. Been a while since I've backed up though. Send it out of the VM. Okay, vertical bar. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow to clean this stuff up. For now, I'm just gonna put a big fat comment. Where does this all start anyway? Okay, that's draw the image. And whenever I write a comment, it's a big candidate for a boundary between 2 refactored functions that'll be extracted, right? So like this is probably going to be one big function I pull out, and just it'll be a one line call to that function. Same thing here, right? This is draw the horizontal ruler. And then I'm going to just copy this big fat thing and say, now we're going to draw the vertical ruler. We don't need to redefine the line width. Ruler line X instead of Y is going to be... Oh, we need a like a left ruler area. Right? Yeah. So we have to calculate that. I think this will work out. So if we allocate space for the top ruler first and then allocate space for the left ruler, I think we'll end up with the section will be the bottom right of the window that's left over. So it'll be ruler, let's make a ruler width. think we need a few more pixels than 30. So maybe, I'm guessing like double that. We'll see. So this will be ruler width and then total size. Not total size Y because we have to account for the top ruler area's height. So it'll be Y minus top ruler area height. Okay, without drawing anything yet, in fact, I'm going to take this and just comment it out for a sec. It'll compile again. I want to see that it actually partitioned the window correctly. That's okay, Lind. I allowed it. I allow my kids to swear now because they're all older than 18. When they start to swear too much, then I say, maybe you shouldn't swear so much. Okay, that didn't quite work, did it? All right, that didn't work. I think what ends up happening is because the layout is like up down instead of left right to begin with, there's a problem in how it allocates exact size. Yeah, I think like the default layout might be getting in the way. I think I need to lay it out horizontally. In fact, I think I have to lay out the whole rest of the screen here horizontally. UI.horizontal. Like this, right? I need to lay out the whole rest of it in that. Unfortunately, it indents my code a little bit, but that's okay. No semicolon at the end there. Whoa! Did not like that. Oh, we want inner or something. Yeah. I think if I put after reserving space for the horizontal ruler, the top ruler, then I need to change the layout to be horizontal instead of vertical, so then I can reserve the left section, and then the remainder should fit where I want it to fit. My kids are adults already, yep. I mean, can't you tell from the whiteness of my beard that I'm, getting a little older? Okay, that worked. So we've reserved space for that ruler area on the left, and I made it wider, probably too wide, but we'll adjust this, They're constants, they can be changed, right? Okay, so I got to do similar drawing commands, but we're drawing on the left instead of on the top. So this stuff. Let's just do the line segments at first. That's these three, right? Oh, the other thing I need to do, I guess we're doing this section twice, right? Yeah, we're going to end up doing that section twice. No big deal, right? Ruler line X is the left ruler area right minus the width divided by 2. Ruler text X is the right minus the full width, and that's right aligned instead of bottom aligned. Okay, so this is the main one, right? It was inner area left ruler line. No, it's not ruler line. It's what is this one? Left to right. No, we want to do the vertical one. So that's ruler line X inner area left. No, the Y coordinate. Top. Ruler line X inner area bottom. Okay, and then this is the top line, so that's left ruler area left. Inner area top. And then same thing, but going to ruler line X. Yeah. And then it's the same thing, but the bottom of it. So inner area bottom, I think. Uh-oh. I have a cursor no zone now. Maybe I should just live with it until the end of the stream. Yeah, but I have a no-go zone. Hey, look, we got 2 rulers now. It's not drawing that ruler in the correct spot though, is it? Oh, it's yeah, I'm drawing it in the wrong spot. I didn't think about that correctly. Okay, we'll fix it. It's not the right, it's the inner area left. Okay. Inner area is maybe not the best word for it. It should be like image area. Okay, and then that's too long. I think it's because, oh, you know what happened? I know why. We reserved some area here, and that area is like, how do I describe it? It's going to be the width, right? So even if I drag it out here, we didn't really reserve all this space. We only reserved maybe this much space, but the image itself ended up being center justified. And so even though we reserved this area, I kind of wanted to draw it over here because I want it to be aligned, left aligned to the image, even though the image is center aligned. There should be a similar problem if I go the other way. Yeah, so that's the problem. It's drawing it way up there. Maybe for now. Yeah, I didn't see that before. See, like that's a problem. It should this ruler should be right on the image. Let's just fix the vertical one for now. So I think even though we reserve the area, I think after we maybe I can just offset the left ruler area, and that would be the simplest. So I just need to make it mutable. Because we're going to like shift it over by however much the inner area was shifted. Where did we I calculated that somewhere, didn't I? The inner area rect from center size. Well, isn't it just inner area left minus the width of the ruler area? Yeah. And we would know that as soon as we did all this. So I could just shift rulers to or glue rulers, I guess shift rulers to meet actual image edges. Who would win in a fight, Craven Moorhead or Andy? I think you're just trying to get me to say things. Let's see. Left ruler area Translate? Yeah. Back to new, I guess, right? And the X is going to be inner area dot left minus left ruler area right. And the other one's going to be 0. So that's shifting it to the right. Wait. Oh, translate returns a new rectangle? So how do I just have it move itself, like mutate it? Set center? Is there like a set right? Ah. But that changes the size though, right? Looking for a shift, but I don't think there is one. I guess I could just assign it back to itself. Yeah. Let's just see if that works. All right. Yes. Okay, we did it. Now I need to do the same thing for the top ruler without messing up the coordinate thing. Hopefully it just works the same way. So top ruler area bottom. Flip X and Y. This needs to be mutable. All right. Cool. So, question is when it's like this. Oh, it just worked. Okay. So then the last step is to get the y coordinate drawing. All right, cool. Draw the horizontal ruler, draw a vertical ruler. Okay, so we got to think in terms of we're going from X to Y. So from the top to the left. So we don't need to draw these line segments anymore, right? Or I should separate the concerns. The top ruler is the horizontal coordinate. So it should not draw, where am I? It should not draw the this one. The vertical line. It should only draw the vertical line. It shouldn't draw the horizontal line. Right? And the other one should only draw the vertical line. I did the wrong one, I think. No, I did the right one. This one, we do not draw the vertical line. We'd only do the horizontal line. Right, and then the text is the y coordinate minus inner area top. Y scale minus half a pixel, max 0 round. It's not going to know what Y scale is, so we have to compute it. Where did I do X scale? We did it here. Y scale is the same thing. It's the inner area's height divided by the actual image height. That's a float. All right. So then the text, yeah, that. So here's where we need to clone the font the first time we use it so that we can use it the second time, right here. Clone it so that we can use it down here, and then so here we care about the height, right? Yes. And then the text center is the y coordinate clamp top plus height, plus and minus height. We need a margin y. 5 is probably too many. What if I go to 2? See. And then this is bottom. Okay, and then text position, flip these around really. Ruler text x minus the width of the text, center minus height over 2. Draw it. Great. Let's try it out. Be stoked if this works the first try. Ooh, I think it worked. Look at that. See how it like doesn't overdraw the top? The bottom looks good. Okay, I think that I was too aggressive on the ruler size. If I get it down to just the right aspect ratio, I think I can cut the ruler width in half. Right? And the top margin, actually, I think the margin, I don't really need a margin. Let me try removing the margin. So margin of 0. And then half the width. So back to 30. I wonder if I'm going to increase that back to like 40 eventually, because larger images are going to have 4-digit numbers, right? Also, this is highly dependent on the font I use. You know, the top margin is too aggressive too. I like it. Does the right thing, preserving the aspect ratio. Whoops. Let me think about this. Yeah, the X margin is too aggressive. There. Let's go to 2. I gotta extract these constants out, clean it up. I did some code duplication there for like the text galleys, so that could be probably fixed up too. That's kind of getting close to that left edge there. Oh no, I think it's okay. So 0, 0's there. And then 111 and 111's down here. Right? That's really hard to get the bottom row. Right there. Okay, cool. I like how this is coming along. I don't know if I need these bars. I need to play around with the graphics. Also, I think the left edge here and the right edge here are offset a little bit from each other. So anyway, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be good enough for tonight. I think that's where we are. So I think I'm gonna call it a night there. And tomorrow, a couple things for tomorrow. I actually want to show like tick marks with numbers on them on both the top and left rulers. And I think I do want to do two things to the main image. I think I want to get control over the shader to, or at least see if I can figure out how to have it use nearest instead of linear interpolation, so it actually looks like pixelated when I blow it up. And I think I also want to have either when I hold shift down or something, or maybe just always have it zoom in on where my cursor is. Thank you, and you have a good day, TS Jost. And maybe in your evening, I'll be back on. Hope you can see the mouse dead zone. See how it doesn't think mouse is over that anymore? That's actually because of the bug in the VM. If I move the image over, it actually sees it again. There's a mouse dead zone. You can see the boundaries of it. Like right around here is the top left corner where it fails to see where the mouse is anymore. Right around here. It's like a region with mouse dead zone here. Why is Poggers not showing up on screen chat? You have to ask Chris, Mr. CM Griffing, maker of Stream Parrot. What happened to my link? Anyway, the name of the chat overlay is Stream Parrot, and it's custom made by CM Griffing. Do I have to actually type? I have to type the word shout out? Okay. So you'll have to ask him. There's a plot twist though, TS Jost. My understanding is that CM Griffing made the Stream Parrot overlay, and like he didn't have a backup copy of the code, and the hard drive the code was on got corrupted, and he actually lost the source code to the whole project, which is a real bummer. So to get Poggers added in, it might be hard to do. I know. In 2025, yeah, it happens. We're all entitled to one time in our life where we accidentally wipe the production database, or we corrupt the only copy of the program we've been working on for 3 months. Yeah, I mean, if we want any new features, I think we have to recreate it from the ground up, or start with someone else's chat overlay. Yep, I think that's how it is. All right, yeah, no one else I know or feel comfortable with rating is going now, so I'm just going to leave it up to you, wonderful viewers, to pick someone else to watch while I wrap it up for the night. Should be back in, I don't know, 10 hours or so. So I will see you then, hopefully. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Bye, TS Just.